back again with Jacqueline Lee, and we're going to talk a little bit about immigration. Let's talk about immigration. How does immigration working within, I guess, the community, within conversations that you're part of?
Yeah. I mean, Newfoundland, I think we have almost a negative birth rate. And I mean, for many reasons, we desperately need newcomers to come to this province and to make their home here and to feel happy and thriving. And so, I mean, there's a ton of work we need to do with immigration policy and to make it remove some of the barriers and challenges that folks experience. So much of the government programming resources are spent on attracting more and more newcomers to the province. But I've met so many incredible people with Tefferty Plus and through DiversityNL that are already here and are making their home and are in our university. And I desperately want them to enjoy this province and their lives here and to build their homes and families here, and to offer them great employment opportunities and that they can have careers and lives here. So I think as a community, we need to do a better job at that. I'm really pleasantly surprised that we have a large newcomer membership within the Tefferty Plus group. So the fact that lots of folks have felt community and felt support and have found connection and a safe place to just connect with folks and grow their network and their circles is truly amazing. I've learned an incredible from some of these folks. I think one meeting in particular, I remember there was a lady from Jamaica, and she talked about how growing up she had incredible role models, countless role models around her from her aunts and her mother, tons of female business leadership, grew up so confident and supported that she could do whatever she wanted. They're one of the most gender progressive countries, I think, in the world. And then she moved here with her family and now has a daughter. And what a wake-up call or a different experience. And now she's trying to raise her daughter in somewhat of the opposite environment. And it's super scary for her to do that. And she's seen her daughter come home with some of the challenges that our young girls face with dropping confidence levels and insecurities creeping up and opting out of like STEM fields and careers. And so she's challenged with how to raise her in a different environment than she was raised. So that blew my mind. It was a whole different perspective of growing up in our community or trying to raise a family in our community. And then as a small employer, I always felt like certainly I wanted to support the newcomer population, but how could I as a small employer do that or a startup company? And then one of my employees came to me and said, could you look at getting designated by the immigration program? And I've sat through webinars before to try to educate companies on what it is and how to navigate it. And it always just went over my head and seemed so complicated. And it was always very focused on finding folks internationally and moving them to the province. So I had no idea that it could tremendously help folks that are on the ground and already established here in Newfoundland. So it was so easy and so fast and almost free. And it only took a matter of weeks. And now the employees formally endorsed by us here at the company. And his path to permanent residency is so much faster under this program. So I desperately encourage all other small companies and startups to look at becoming a designated employer. When you go through the membership list online, it's a lot of service industry companies. And I'd love to see every single tech company in this province as a designated employer and not have to wait for their employees to come to them and ask about it, like I did. Because I was floored at how fast and easy it was. And the AMAL group is now there to support employers through the process. And the Association for New Canadians can also provide support and help and courses, all free, for employers to get through this. So I really encourage folks to do that. But just even all the folks that I met through Tequity and hearing the stories of sharing why, not certainly why they came here, but why they chose to stay. And they can go anywhere else. And it's always stories of community and kindness and connection. And there's one lady that has a company in the Genesis Center, and she's flourishing. She has international sales now. She's doing incredible. And she has an incredible company. But she told the story that she arrived there on a plane Christmas Day, and was given like keys to a apartment or whatnot, but no food, nothing was open, nothing was available, extremely cold. And her neighbor came over with like a casserole and some cookies, and that's why she stayed, because her first experience was of kindness and just that. I mean, we love to talk as Newfoundlanders with the whole come from away about our generosity and our kindness, and so it's really cool to see when that happens and it, in practice. That was a pretty special moment for me.
Absolutely. And, I think a lot of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians pride ourselves on being I guess we're told to be one of the safer places to live. We're told to be, come on in, we'll give you a cup of tea, but I'm going to put a but in there, or maybe an and in there. And that's not always fully the case when people decide to stay. Sometimes that's the case if people come for holidays or people come for a brief period of time. But if people decide to stay and, they're not white, they are, racialized, they're from different backgrounds. Maybe their names are harder to pronunciate. They don't have, Anglophone names, or they don't have, Canadianized names, Westernized names. They're harder to pronunciate. We don't always give them jobs. We don't always give them the in our organizations or conversations. We don't give them the time. And, they come with some fantastic careers from other places all around the world. And most want to stay, right? Because they want to have that sense of family, the sense of community that does exist here. They want to be a part of the community, but we haven't always opened up our hearts or minds to that piece. So, as a person that talks a lot about DEI and embraces DEI, like, what are some kind of tips or some thoughts on, like, how do we do better? How do we be better at kind of welcoming folks?
Gosh, I'm still learning this myself, but we just introduced the concept of floating holidays at Polyunity. Not everybody wants to celebrate the same things and the same days as we do, and like for Christmas and whatnot. Ramadan is important to some of our staff. Certainly, we need to learn what that is and help celebrate with them. But so if they want certain days off instead, by all means, of course, you should accommodate that. So often with this stuff, it's just a learning journey. You got to wait for someone to have the courage to speak up, to be like, can we try this or can we do this? Usually the answer is yes, of course. And I wish I'd known that sooner. And there's so much learning to be done, and it should not be on your employees to have to bring that to you. But we're just doing the best we can. And when you do have the opportunity to learn, and one of the cool things I'm seeing now more and more in this province is peer network. So DiversityNL is doing a great job at this, but setting up peer networks for HR and for in different tech categories and tech roles. So I think those are opportunities where we can really listen and learn, so that we don't all learn on our own. We can share those learnings across companies and get things happening faster. We ask our new staff and our existing staff, what do you need to thrive in this role? And you can't just ask them once and just check off the box. Like, you got to ask them constantly, to the point where they feel, okay, like I can actually speak up and say what's on my mind. Just asking them once or even 3 times enough. Like, you have to constantly ask them, and to make them feel valued and seen and appreciated enough to like speak up and say the things that would make a difference in their professional working lives. So that's new for us as well. That it needs to be constant, consistent, genuine, authentic efforts for folks to even feel safe enough to tell you the things that they would want to see or need.
So psychological safety and feedback and support. Yeah.
And then we have potlucks all the time. So it's always super exciting for folks to bring in like the dishes that are most special to them. That we're a bunch of foodies here at Poly. That's always fun. Nicole and our team does a great job at trying to find opportunities for DEI learning. We have weekly meetings. Often we have a DEIB minute, but we'll do the research on our own to sort of not just issues, but special days and special holidays and special to bring that, instead of having like the person from India feel compelled to have to come explain what Ramadan is to everybody. We learned that from Laura Memba in some of our talks. Like, when you're the only Black person, the onus is on you to like sort of come educate everybody about some of the issues and challenges and things that are important from a policy or structure or culture perspective. And that's exhausting, right? So that should be a shared company responsibility or opportunity. Responsibility is opportunity. So what do you think? Those are some of the things that we're trying.
Yeah. So definitely like self-education.
Yeah.
That's definitely, and I think it is a responsibility and as an opportunity. It's both of those things. Sometimes we struggle with the wording, and even as a DEIB person, that I struggle with wording sometimes, because we want to make sure that it's inclusive, that people feel that they have a voice. And yesterday I talked to someone, Gina Batty, and she's Psychological Institute in the UK. So a lot of great research coming out of there about psychological safety, and a great conversation about creating, because we all have a role to play in psychological safety. So from leaders to, frontline staff, it's an everyone thing. And of course, everyone feels it comes back to you as the CEO, right, of doing it. And I think we all have a role to play in moving forward with all of these different pieces of diversity, equity, inclusion. And it's really small steps forward of making people feel included. You talked about putting up flags, getting to know your team members, where they're from. I love that you said you asked the question, and as a social worker, I ask the question, what best supports you? How can I best support you? But you ask, how can I best make you thrive? Or what makes you, how can this role make you thrive? Or how can we best make you thrive? Like, so when it comes to asking questions like that, and you're right, it's continuous feedback. And that's the one thing that organizations don't always get correct. It's providing that continuous conversation, because you're going to end up making team members feel more comfortable with it, because we're not just asking it to be that tick box. We're actually asking it because we care, right? Is that whole care, love piece. When you create that environment, people are going to feel supported. There's a lot of us are introverts, and we'll start to say, and start to share our authentic selves, like stripping down the self that we it's kind of like Gina talked about. It's like a new cell phone. When you open it up, it's brand new with all the factory settings. But what's happened over time is that, we put all these things onto it, as filters, and now it's not its true authentic self. So we've done that too, is like layers of an onion. We've put pieces over us to protect us from masking, because we've all felt things, and things have been told to us and said to us that has been hurtful. So peeling back the pieces of the layer so that people actually feel that they have an opportunity to contribute. And we don't always give those opportunities. So I love that you continue to have that conversation within Polyunity about how can I best make you thrive? How can we best support you as people? Because it's different for all of us. It's about that equity component, which is missing in organizations. Like, we don't treat everyone the same because we're not the same, right? There's that aspect of, like, how can I best support you as a leader, as a manager, as a friend, as a coworker, right? So asking about people's partners and families, because they all look different, right? Like changing the word, right? Making that inclusive conversation, impactful.
Absolutely. And then language isn't so intentional. You've done sessions with us and shared resources about language and the things that is so embedded, right? Like things that I remember from childhood. Like when retarded was a word that was so commonly used when I was a kid. And to try to rip that out of your brain but now, like, if you actually make a mistake and say some of these words that are incredibly offensive, you didn't say it with offense. You said it because it's been taught to you from birth, but you hear it immediately, right? So, like, I say God so much, and it still comes out, but I immediately, like, I did it again.
Yeah.
And now I can't unhear myself say it. So I'm really trying to use folks, and change that. But like, there's you gave us a whole list of things, and it comes out of our mouth without a second thought. But you can see how others can perceive it, and they'll never speak up. They'll let it go, or they'll laugh along with you, or you're like, well, that didn't bother them. That's okay. Like, well, no, that's an assumption on your part, right? Like, I pulled up the list you set up last year, but like, we whitelist or blacklist, grandfathered in, low man on the totem pole. I said all those things without a second thought. And learning the stories and the context and the histories behind them. Like even the mumbo jumbo and basket case. And then I think Clark on our team found that the backstories of all of these words, and like fascinating stuff about the origins of this stuff and how something that had a negative start and birth to it has now evolved and is just something we use in everyday language with no knowledge of the backstory. So that's been a learning curve for us as well.
So I think, like, just as we end, just looking at taking away of being impactful, looking at conversations and looking at how we interact with one another. I think that's a great takeaway, because we ultimately want people to feel, I always want people to feel included, that, you were the center of their attention when you had conversations, that you didn't say something that was intentionally offensive. But I do think it's a learnings, and we all have learnings to do as we go. So I thank you for being here and helping us learn, in our second season, looking at, how do we do better? How do we be more inclusive? And I think it's that intentional, always be learning. And I think that's one of the things that you had noted earlier, is we're always going to learn, and we're always going to, I guess, try to make a better version of ourselves. Let's go that, because I think that's I don't know, that's what I'm trying to do. Like, how do we continue to make a better version of ourselves so that our kids or future generations, that they don't have to go through some of the things that are currently happening within our space. What do you think? Some final words.
Exactly. And let's just talk to each other. Fine. And even folks that look different or that you don't agree with, or sit down and have a conversation with them. And for the love of it, like, put these things away. Those, I mean, that's a whole nother topic we could talk about. Social media and the curses of these screens and what's coming with AI and the good and bad. But yes, I mean, I try to read as much as I can. I try to listen to folks that I don't agree with or have different perspectives. I show up and listen when there's community gatherings or opportunities for community engagement. I mean, you got to be humble enough to realize how much you have no idea about. And stop being so surprised at always being surprised. That's the fact of how uninformed you are. And people are complex, incredible human beings, and we've all got incredible stories and life experiences to get us where we have. And the newcomers that have chosen this province to live in, like, embrace the courage and bravery of the past to just even get to this point. It's so incredible. Yeah, we got to do a whole lot more listening to each other. And just assume good intentions. Christ, can we be a little bit nicer to each other and give each other grace? We're in our school up all day long, every day. And it's some of our team members here, like the skills they have at calling folks out in such a kind way, where you don't even feel like you were called out. It's incredible. It's watch how they do that, and they're so young doing it. Right, these are like 20-year-olds that's got it figured out.
Yeah.
The reverse mentoring opportunities are constantly underestimated around us everywhere.
We have a lot to learn from our immigrants or refugees and definitely younger generations.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. Folks want to reach out. I know that you're connected in on LinkedIn. So is that a great way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn or on our company page or Facebook even. Trying to spend less and less time on Facebook. LinkedIn, I think, is where I'm having the best quality conversation.
Awesome.
In my life. Yeah, if you're in town and want to check out the Tequity group, we've got unlimited space.
Fantastic. Thanks again.
Thanks, Stephanie. Bye-bye.